morning and welcome to Cover 2 Cook. We are on episode 65. We have a special episode today. We're going to be talking about Notre Dame football. So let's get right at it. I got my co-host today, Mr. Tim Cook, but I also have a special guest. We have Barstool Chief. He is a part of Barstool Chicago, a Beretta gang member, co-host of Pitch, and co-host of The Stretch. Made a guest appearance on Here Comes the Irish. Everyone, please welcome Barstool Chief. Thank you so much for joining us today, Barstool Chief.
Hey, it's a good time to be on a Notre Dame podcast, I'll tell you that. So
It is. Thank you. And so I got to start out with this. Watching Here Comes the Irish, guest appearance on that. How was that?
Yeah, it was cool. I've never really done anything like that. So they invited me down. We shot it at Corby's, which is that bar in South Bend. And great people, very professional crew. And, they put you in front of that black screen with the bright lights on you. And they ask you a million questions. And you have to repeat the question and then give your answer. And then I was there for a while. And, they chop it all down and use the bits that they want. So, it was fun to be involved with that. I was glad they asked me.
Yeah, honestly, I was watching it over because, these 11 days, right? Like this, now we're like day 4 or 4 more days or whatever. It's kind of just been like, all right, I need to watch the season over again because it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to get a little bit of, so when did you become a fan of Notre Dame football? Like, was it young? Was it?
I remember the day. So I'm 38 years old right now. My dad always loved Notre Dame. So he didn't go there or anything, but they would show the replay in his local market on Sunday morning. So he'd watch the replay of the game on Sunday before Mass, go to Mass, and then he had these neighbors, so his dad's neighbors, diehard Florida State fans. So my first ever college football memory was the game of the century in 1993. Rudy came out that same year. I was hooked ever since. And I was going through, my phone, and I have a brother who's 10 years younger than me, and I'm holding him as, a new, like literally days old.
Yeah.
In like the hospital blanket. And I'm wearing a Notre Dame hat, a Ron Paulus jersey. And so I've been a Notre Dame fan since I was, 6, 7 years old. And then my first game was 1998. It was a season opener against Kansas. And I've been kind of, as an adult, I would say I've been going to basically one game a year my entire kind of adult life. So
yeah, and that's sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, just always been a huge fan, and it's wild that they're in this spot now.
Yeah. It is, and it feels totally different than 2012. So I don't want to hear about everyone being like, "You don't deserve it." We deserve everything we got. We won the 3 games. Yeah, it was one of these things, and me and my father have tried to go to a game every year. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, if they win Monday night, it's gonna be even harder to get to a game because that ticket price has been going up very substantially. But it's been a great year, and I did want to ask another question about this year is, what game do you feel changed this team to be a national championship outside of Northern Illinois? Obviously, everyone wants to talk about Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
But what game do you think?
I don't want to talk about Northern Illinois. I'd like to pretend that game never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't know. It just felt like it was getting better and better and better as the year went along. I remember we were on a road trip for work and listening to the Miami of Ohio game. And it's like, man, like this is going bad again. But then they rally in the second half and it's like, all right, put that one in. And then they start killing, they just started killing people. And they just looked like a different team really from that the second half of Miami of Ohio on. It seemed like they really kind of rounded into shape, killing Florida State. I went to the Virginia game and they never really played anybody the rest of the year. So for me, believe it or not, I think it was the Georgia game where it was like, all right, this team took me a while to really actually believe. I couldn't get Marshall from last year out of my head. I couldn't get Oklahoma State out of my head from a couple years ago, Northern Illinois. And I just didn't really believe. It's like, I got to see them beat a blue blood type of team and the way they beat Georgia. And then that's probably when I was like, this team, they got the minerals. They got it all. They got what you need. And I love the way they play. It's classic Notre Dame. Run the football, tight ends, tough quarterback, nasty defense. It's been a great team to watch.
It has. And so I asked that question because some people say Purdue, right? The week after Northern Illinois. Yeah. For me, I've always said to Louisville. You know, I felt like Louisville, we saw Leonard throw the ball a little bit more. and we're like, okay, maybe we can trust that now.
Mhm.
I just think like throughout the whole year, we were just sitting there waiting for that moment, waiting for something to happen where it was going to go bad, because that's just Notre Dame football. We
Yeah, it
sit
has
on the
been.
edge for something to go bad. And then even Georgia, like when the game started, I was talking to my wife and I'm like, this is a Brian Kelly lose game. Is this a Marcus Freeman game though?
Yeah.
Can we? And I like our podcast that we did after it, I said, shame on us. We have a new coach. It's a new culture. It's shame on us for thinking that they can't. And then once they won that game, it was like, now it's time to win it all.
Yeah.
So
well, you're just waiting for the shoe to drop.
yeah.
We've been there every year, playing good, and then we just have that one letdown game, which was Northern. But it just seems like when we get up against the Blue Bloods, we just freak out, and it's we're just waiting. I was the same way. I was just like that. It was 10-3, and it was just like 3-3, 6-3, and it's just like just waiting for the shoe to drop. But
it was.
But they were resilient. So
yeah. And so this year's, we've had a little bit of the NIL, we have transfer portals and stuff like that. How do you feel that Notre Dame is benefiting from NIL? Because there is a little bit of this. Well, Ohio State spent $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I don't think we've really seen them benefit from NIL yet. I think it's coming. I think this is going to be sustained success. And, we had on our show today, it'll air tomorrow, we had Tyler Eifert and Zach Martin on from that 12 team. And even they were like, yeah, we're hearing that the coffers are full. So however they deploy that, I think they're going to be able to recruit and get kind of whoever they want, within reason. I actually hate what has become of college football. I love the playoff, but all the, the transfer portal, this and that. And, it's worked out with Leonard this year. I'm glad that Freeman's like, we're not doing the quarterback. It's going to probably, sounds like it's just going to be CJ Carr going forward. And I like that. I like, looking at the recruiting stuff, and it's like, all right, well, yeah, we got this kid. He's, he had to sit for a year. He's a red shirt. And then all of a sudden he bursts on the scene, but he's Notre Dame through and through. Like I appreciate that a little bit more. I hate the conference expansion. I wish it would go back to the conference alignment for, when I was, 1996, like Nebraska's in the Big 12 and Colorado's, I know they're in the Big 12 again now, but it's just gotten too much, like USC and UCLA in the Big 10. Like, like I'm glad they got their teeth kicked in coming into the league. So, because I Eifert on our show is wearing it. He pulled it up and he's like, it's just says Midwest is best. And it's like the Midwest football that, gray skies, cold weather, run it down your throat. That football is back, and the Midwest teams are leading the way on it, and I love it.
It is, and honestly, not having an SEC team in the championship's awesome to see. Yeah. You can't say it's a down year or whatever. I mean, it was good to see Ohio State kind of beat up on Oregon. I hate Ohio State. I got family members that love Ohio State, so I can't stand it. Urban Meyer days, Tressel, all of them. I hate it all. So this will be fun on Monday night to kind of get after them. But, you said the NIL, but with us not being in a conference, I feel like this benefits us even more for the NIL, making it to championship with $20 million on the table now.
Yeah, don't have to split that. That's all ours, baby. So that's going to go a long way too. How they actually deploy that, I don't know what that looks like, but they got plenty of money. They got plenty of donors. They're going to be able to do whatever they want in that space. So it's a good time to be an Irish fan. I think regardless of what happens Monday night, so long as Freeman stays here another 5 years, I think he will get a national championship at some point.
Well, and that was actually going to go to my next question was, so this year we got Leonard, and I will be honest, and I said on my podcast that I said, I'm done getting ACC wash-ups. We had, I can't think of his name now.
Sam Hartman.
Yes, Hartman. And then we get Leonard, and it was just like, I'm done with it. I want an SEC quarterback. And now it sounds like we're going to go with what we actually recruited, which I hope so, because I will be honest, I was kind of on the Quinn Ewers bandwagon. Like, if he wants to come to Notre Dame,
pass.
Okay. Yeah. I was a little bit on it, but like, it was one of these things where it's like, do you feel going forward that eventually Notre Dame will have to get a sit in the pocket quarterback, or do you feel that they'll keep going after quarterbacks that always have a little bit of that running tendency more than passing?
I think that's all of college football. So even a guy who is billed as the next best thing, like Arch Manning, yeah, he can sit back there and sling it, and I think we'll see that for Texas in a big way next year once Quinn Ewers moves on. but you're always going to have that dual threat. That's everything's RPO, everything's extending plays. You're seeing it in the NFL now too. I mean, Mahomes isn't running that often, but he can, and he extends plays. And same thing, Lamar Jackson could win an MVP again, and that is the game has changed. So I think you can win both ways. Like you can still win with a pocket quarterback, but it does help if you have a guy who is at least athletic enough to extend plays, and it's 3rd and 4 and nothing's there, and you're pick it up with your legs. So, and we've seen Riley Leonard do that time and time again with both design runs and some improvisation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that's Riley Leonard. He's won a lot of fans back from, obviously Northern Illinois was tough, but even some of these games this year, we were like, he's got to be able to throw the ball. He's got to get the ball down the field. And, it's great when guys fall on the ground and it's wide open. Don't get me wrong against Penn State, but he's made good throws in the playoffs. And I think Pat McAfee, and I've watched his show daily, but him talking about even just he's got an arm. Like I let's not forget that. And I think going into this game, if we get behind, we're going to have to throw the ball. We're going to have to get going on it. I believe we actually have a chance in this game. I don't want to. I think a lot of people
let's not get behind that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
because they're not come from behind team. Right. Do you think the key injuries on the offensive line is going to, I know Freeman is more next man up. Do you think these injuries on the offensive line, is that going to kind of hurt him in this game?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the guy, Jagasaw he was the big recruit. He was a guy who was penciled in as the starting left tackle, got hurt, and it ended up being a true freshman that they made it work. Right. So now it's like your first real start of the year is going to be in the national championship. So it's a big spot for a guy. I think he's a sophomore, but he is talented. Like he has, kind of looks like a future NFL guy, to me. So I don't think it's not like a 5-alarm fire necessarily. Like when Tosh Baker came in, he's a Notre Dame guy who's been there for forever.
Right.
He's not at the level.
Yeah.
And I think talent-wise, Jagasaw gives you a little bit more. So I'm not overly worried about that, but we'll see how it plays out because their DNs are good. They got good DNs.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Well, and Sawyer, I mean, I absolutely hate the guy. And I hated him before the Michigan thing, but after the Michigan thing happened, it was like, what a sore loser kind of moment. But at the same time, if you're a fan of it, you're kind of like, you ain't doing it. But I definitely agree. But I thought Baker did well against Penn State. He's definitely not going to win us games, but he helped us not lose that game.
Yeah, I thought when he went in, there were very few guys can block Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
But he was struggling. They didn't give him the hook for no reason. So we'll again that is going to be the matchup to watch is how Notre Dame's tackles and how they perform containing those Ohio State edges. If they got a chip with a running back and tight end,
right?
And maybe it is. I think it's going to have to be a Riley Leonard run game.
Yep.
So you give them that RPO look. Are they crashing down on Love and Price and Williams, or are they going to let Riley pick up, beat them 6 yards at a time, death by paper cut kind of thing?
Yeah.
Well, and I think with the Love injury too, Aeneas Williams has definitely stepped up, especially against Penn State. I mean, he showed that I think next year he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I think so too. I do too.
Well, and I think that's also the thing you look at too is even at Penn State when Leonard threw the ball and intercepted, it was just like, I mean, when Notre Dame went 10-0, I went downstairs. I had to walk away for a little bit, came back upstairs. The wife's yelling at me, "Hey, they're coming down!" And then, that drive. I mean, we were talking about what changed in that game. It was that drive before half of just getting points on the board.
And Angeli on our shoulders. That's what it was. So we had an angel on our shoulders, and you talk about a guy who, I felt like I was watching Tommy Rees back there.
Yep.
Where it's just you can tell the arm strength is not there, but he sees everything. He's smart. He's been in the program for a while, and he's just going to take what the defense gives him. Right, bang, 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 right down the field goal. All right, a little bit of momentum to get the ball to start the half. And I don't know if you guys have seen the Marcus Freeman halftime.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God! Like I was ready to run through my phone when I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Get right in there because we're in a fight, and this one's going to be a fight too. But I like the kids that Notre Dame lines up and goes to battle. So I feel good about it.
Well, that kind of leads me to one of my final questions I got for you, though. is I'm a big fan of yours, so obviously I know you're a Bears fan. Okay.
Are you a big fan? Why would you bring that up if you're a big fan?
Well, no. I'm a Vikings fan, so I got it worse right now at this moment, just with our. But with Freeman's talks, would you rather have Freeman at Notre Dame or Chicago? If you were the one that could decide the future, what would you like?
No, I love Marcus Freeman. What do you want me to ruin his life? No, leave him.
Good.
Leave him at Notre Dame where he belongs. He could coach there, for a long time and have a long, successful career. And Freeman would go to the Bears and just get churned up and chewed up and spit back out, and then he'd be like, wake up, and all of a sudden he's coaching Miami of Ohio. Yeah. And I would not wish that on anybody.
Well, and that's the reason I asked that is because I have talked to some Bears fans at work, and they're like, "Oh, I love Freeman," and it's like, but he's young. Like, can we remember that? Like, he's super young still, and young in the coaching world.
Yeah.
But like, I think that message he gave at halftime resonates with younger people. Like, right? Like when you got veterans in there that are making millions, which has kind of changed college football a little bit because there is guys in the room now that are making $1 million or so. But like when he gave the speech, it was just like, I mean, I played college football, and it was like I would have killed someone for that money. Like I would have done something. So
definitely.
And I'm glad that you said that because I do think Freeman, if he could stay at Notre Dame, just bring it back up. I mean, it does feel like the third year. Everyone wants to bring up the third year, Brian Kelly's third year, all these other third years, but like it just feels different. It's just it's a different grit to this team.
It is, and you can tell the guys love him. You can tell that they play for him. There's no doubt in my mind that Freeman could be a successful NFL coach. I just don't think he can do it for the Bears. So if the Pittsburgh Steelers wanted to move on from Mike Tomlin and they're like, hey, Marcus Freeman, you're the guy, I think he would go there and be very, very successful. Yeah. The Bears, nobody could salvage them. So that's how I feel right now. Well, I'm disgusted with them.
Yeah. And until the McCaskey sell, that is the only way the Bears will be relevant again. They got to get out of underneath Virginia. That's just plain and simple.
And George too.
Yes, they got to sell that. And they said the only way they'll sell that team is when Virginia dies.
Right.
Because none of the other kids want anything to do with it.
Right. And I think that there's been two guys in the last couple of years. I'm like, all right, that guy can wade through the mess that is the Bears. I think Harbaugh could have done it. They decided to go with Eberflus, and I think Vrabel could have done it, but he was going back to New England. So you need that type of a guy. Harbaugh would have been perfect because he's the offensive guy with the young quarterback. Like it would have been. In my heart, I know that if the Bears had fired Eberflus and hired Harbaugh they'd be in the playoffs. Like I know that. I know that. Instead, they're a laughing stock again. One of the worst organizations in sports.
Well, and I have one last question because I know we got a couple more minutes before we get you out of here. Is do you think the offensive coordinator and the defense coordinator for Notre Dame stay after this year? Because with the defense doing as well as they did, offensive coordinator, he originally was at Notre Dame, correct? Then came back. Yep. He went with Brian Kelly, came back. Yeah. Do you feel that these two will stay with Freeman because of what he brings to this, to this team?
That's another place where the money talks. So you've got to make all this money from the playoff. They should kick it over to Golden and Denbrock. And Denbrock's still he's been around a while. Like he was a tight ends coach on that 2012 Notre Dame team. So he's kind of like a Notre Dame lifer in a way with a brief spell at LSU where he was hyper successful as an offensive coordinator. Getting him, I think, was great. I don't think he's done enough this year to warrant some big job. And I think when you see him with a competent, and I like Riley Leonard, but he leaves something to be desired. Get some wide receivers in there, get a quarterback who can sling it like CJ Carr, and we'll see what he does. Sort of how what he did with Jaden Daniels, who was unbelievable. So if he has like a big time quarterback, and then it's like, oh, Notre Dame wins another national championship, then all the other Big Ten schools are going to come looking at him, and I think he'll eventually leave. Golden's a little bit older. And I think there's a benefit where he did kind of fail as a head coach. So maybe he's
Miami of Florida. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So if he's content to be a defensive coordinator and maybe you make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football, which I think they probably should after this run, then maybe he just stays and he and Freeman are tied at the hip, and he runs the defense and Freeman runs the whole team. And that's, they got a good staff. So they got to get the offensive side of the ball going. They got that Cam Williams, who's a Chicago area kid, who's a true freshman this year. So next year, him, CJ Carr, maybe they get a transfer portal wide receiver, or a guy who can be a game breaker on the outside, because they always had those in my adult life, Stovall and Samardzija and Will Fuller. Like they had a lot of Golden Tate. Yeah, they had a ton of good receivers. Michael Floyd, and that has gone away the last 3 years. So if they get back to recruiting those types of kids, those difference-making kids on the outside, and the offense starts humming, I'm sure Mike Denbrock will eventually go. I just don't think it'll be this offseason.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I definitely agree with what you're saying with the wide receivers. I think we still do have decent, but we don't have those.
They have to go get Bo Collins and something. These transfer kids that they're not that good. Like Faison's good. Greathouse is good, but they don't have that's an NFL guy. You used to look at Notre Dame and be like, they got NFL guys on the outside, and going back to Charlie Weiss time, and that hasn't been the case under Freeman. And I think if they get that sorted, and along with a quarterback who can sling it, then they're going to be in a great spot. Yeah,
no, I definitely agree. Well, I do appreciate you joining us today, Barstool Chief. I'm super excited for Monday. We're actually, he's coming up to see me, and we're going to do a live video for it. So just because when I was in 2012, I was actually a freshman in college. Mm-hmm. So I had to take the harsh punishment of us getting beat. So I just want a decent game. I would love for a win, but I just want a decent game going to the end. But I truly appreciate you joining us today, and hopefully the Irish can do better as we keep going on.
Well, a couple of these.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, same to you guys. Thanks for having me. Sorry I was late.
No worries. We'll see you. Awesome. That was a total appreciation there for Barstool Chief joining. I think, just getting an insider of even Notre Dame, talking a little bit more about Notre Dame. I think it was really good to see that. I'm fired up. I am truly fired up, ready for this game on Monday night. I know I kind of just gave a little bit of another secret that we were going to do, but on Monday, as weather permits, obviously, because, who knows what Mother Nature wants, you'll be coming up to watch the game. We'll do a Facebook Live for us. You get to see our reactions to this game, but what do you think about that interview real quick?
I thought it was really good. He came out just firing. He is a true Notre Dame fan. That was pretty awesome. I know he does that for a living, but you could just tell the excitement in his voice of the anticipation of the game. I think he's very confident in it, in this team.
Well, and I even think just if you do watch it, and if you're a Notre Dame fan, you've most likely seen the Here Comes the Irish. It's on Peacock, Peacock.
Yeah, Peacock.
If you watch it, he comes in the beginning, and you're just like, damn, he knows a lot of stuff about Notre Dame. So that's why I was like, I got to reach out to him, see if he can jump on, because we've tried to stay in the middle throughout this whole college football season of stay in the middle, don't show too much Notre Dame fan. But then they were winning, and then it was like, I'm going to laugh in your face now, because this is what the fan wants to give out in this. But just getting someone like him on this podcast was like, that is the fan right there.
Right. Because, he's reminiscent about games back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000. He's throwing out Jeff Samardzija. There was another wide receiver I can't remember that played in the NFL that was really good as well, and I can't think of his name right offhand. Yes. He was not for Pittsburgh, he was an all right player, and then he went to the Bears, and he just decided to stop playing. But that's where they need to get back to, is somebody that can stretch the field. And I was going to say that in the podcast, like a Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. Well,
they need somebody like that. He's a unicorn. I get it. Yeah. He's a once in a lifetime talent, but they've got to get somebody that can stretch the field. But you got to get a quarterback that can get you the ball down the field as well.
Well, and that's what made me feel good just even talking to him, because it was one of my questions was leading down the future. I think Notre Dame has to get into the modernization of what today's game is. Now, he said that's how college football is, but that's not how Notre Dame is. Let's be 100% honest. Leonard is not stretching the field. No. He's good with his feet. And he's better on his feet than he is his arm, which is the only thing difference of when you look at those Final Four teams, all of them had a gunslinger with a little bit of feet on them.
Right.
We had a guy that could run the ball, that could throw the ball when he needed to. And that's where I think Notre Dame to take that step forward. If they don't win on Monday night, which it is what it is, but if they don't win on Monday night, that's what changes. And him saying Carr, and I kind of forgot about Carr.
Because the Deuce Knight was supposed to come there, and then he transferred to, I think, Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
I thought, but and then he decommitted halfway through the season this year. And he was supposed to be, he's a 5-star recruit.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I think that's, definitely, I think that's where they have to take that step. But like you said, though, you can go get the quarterback, but a quarterback ain't going to want to come to a place where he ain't got no wide receivers to throw the ball. And that's what makes me nervous when we talk about Notre Dame is, what is the philosophy going to be? What are we walking into each year saying, are we going to run the ball like Notre Dame's been good at? Because if that is, then you're going to get the best running backs out of the nation and the best offensive line because they rather run block any day than pass block. But when it comes to getting a quarterback, like when we get behind, can we come back? And I feel like that's where when you look at like this game that's going to come up on Monday night, they have to do that better. If not, it could get out of hand fast.
And I don't think they get down 10-0. They're still in it, but they get any more than that, it could be over early. It could get over early. They're not a team that is a comeback team. They're not. I mean, 10-0. Yeah, I mean you're 2 scores away. They get down 3 scores, it could get out of hand. It could be a snowball going right down the hill.
Well, and that's actually what I was thinking. Right? Was the 3? They have to be 3 scores because you can't say 2 scores now. Penn State, they literally did it. They literally did it. So it's like, do I think Penn State is as good as Ohio State? No. I'm not saying that. And I don't think Will Howard's going to make the same errors that Howard made throughout the game as well either. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that like they can come back, but it has to be at a certain range. And they have to control the line of scrimmage. That is going to be the biggest thing for Notre Dame. And we'll talk about that because we're going to do like, talk more about that game going forward because I'm running on that one. I'm moneyline Notre Dame. If you want to be safe on it, take the points. But for me personally, I just think that this is a one where it's all felt like it's fell in place for a certain way for Notre Dame to be there. And I honestly too, name another team that would have made a better matchup. Like Texas would have been great, but all year we've been hearing about the $20 million, Ohio State. Ryan Day's going to lose his job when they lose to Michigan. They get it there, and it's like, wouldn't it just be Cinderella's story that Notre Dame wins this game, and here now Ohio State's back into their situation? It could all go the opposite way. Don't get me wrong, but like it feels like it's all that way.
And I think they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth of the last game they played against them. Was that 2 years ago?
Yes.
At home, I mean they had them on the ropes. So I think if that defense plays 2 years ago, Notre Dame wins.
Yeah. Oh no.
I think they stop at the goal line. I really do. I think they stop them.
Yeah, because that was that C.J. Stroud's year or was that Justin Fields?
That was McCord.
Oh yes,
Kyle McCord. Yes. So that now plays at Syracuse now. Yeah, but that was Kyle McCord that year. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think they even get the ball down the field as far as they did with this defense that played 2 years ago. This defense now, they don't even. I think they win that game. They win that game.
Well, and it was a night game at Notre Dame, so let's be real there too. This is a neutral site. There's going to be it's more of going to be it's like the Super Bowl anymore these days. Let's be honest. The national championships where it's more donor/sponsors being at the game than actual fans. But I think when you look at it, I think Notre Dame actually has a serious chance going into this on Monday night.
Right. I will make my pick when we do our next podcast, but you might be kind of surprised.
Oh, really? I'll tell you right now. If you pick Ohio State, don't even dare get in that goddamn vehicle to come up here. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Don't even do that.
You know what? Sometimes, Anthony, you got to bet with your wallet and not your heart.
No, yeah.
When you're a gambler, sometimes you got.
I'm actually looking to see if I can get Barstool Chief back on because that is bullshit. Don't even do that. Don't even do that shit. Are you dead serious? Are you thinking about picking Ohio State?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now. If you see the garage door open and it closes before you walk through the door, just be ready for that baseball bat.
I'm just telling you. As a gambler, I've been a gambler for 30 years. Sometimes you got to do that.
No. I mean, yes, I get it. Okay, like, am I going to drop our mortgage payment on this Notre Dame?
Right,
no. But I'm picking Notre Dame because it just feels, And if you do pick Ohio State, I'm telling you right now, if Notre Dame wins, your ass is sleeping outside because you don't get to live in the Lord's house.
Have you ever heard of reverse psychology?
I'm telling you now. What are you, Nick Saban? You ain't Nick. We get what, like 20 views of thing. You think Notre Dame's gonna Marcus Freeman plays this? You see what this guy? He's been rooting for Notre Dame all year. He picks Ohio State. You ain't that guy. Chill out. But no, but I think this was an awesome episode. I'll have to definitely send Barstool Chief a thank you for joining because we're just little guys in this aspect of it. But I just feel like this year's been special, and we have talked a lot off camera or off air with this of being like, don't show too much favoritism towards Notre Dame. Don't show, and it's like, all right, we got to do it now because we're not guaranteed next year. We're not guaranteed all this. And honestly, I'm doing a little bit out of spite because I remember 2012 and being there in college and being like talking my shit and just walking and just being like, and they got absolutely murdered. They got murdered. And it was like,
I remember sitting at my friend's house, Doug's, watching the game. And, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? He's like, yeah, well, it's typical, Brian Kelly teams. They don't play up to their potential.
And I will say this, if that game goes like that on Monday night, I can still rest a little bit easier. And why I say this is because they deserve to be there. 2012 was different because it was the best two teams of some committees to say. This team had to go play Indiana, Big Ten school, had to play Georgia, the SEC champions, right? Had to beat them. Then goes and plays Penn State, who played for a Big Ten championship. Now they lost to Oregon, but they played for one. Beat them. It's just like they deserve it this time. So if we lose, it is what it is. But if we win, it just means even more, I think.
If they win, Marcus Freeman will not have to buy a dinner in South Bend ever again.
Oh, man.
If they win.
I'm going to Venmo him. Like, he don't need my money. I'll Venmo him. Hey, yo, here's $20. Go get a couple drinks on me. Like, shit. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if they do get winning or if it does look like a win, be there, be watching on the live stream because your boy don't drink often, but I'm going to be drinking and we're going to have a good time with that one. So, but I want to thank him for joining. I want to thank everyone for listening. This was a special episode. I hope you guys all see this and give comments, likes. And we'll be back. So we're recording tomorrow night. We've kind of been recording tomorrow night for about the NFL Saturday, and then on Sunday Sunday morning we'll be dropping recapping the two Saturday NFL games, talking about the two NFL games, and then are we going to do a Monday podcast? Is that where you want to talk about?
Yes, we'll do a pregame warm up before the actual live stream.
Okay, so we'll do one Monday morning. Well, that'll be in person, so weather permits. Do one in person on Monday, and then obviously do the live stream. So definitely get us our watches and stuff like that. But I want to thank everyone. Have a great rest of your week. We will see you guys this weekend. Go Irish.